Welcome to Real Talk, Real Women. My name is Miriam Khalladi, and today we have Karen Kennedy from Miami, Florida on the show. Welcome, Karen. How are you?
I'm good, Miriam. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. You are a professional fitness model and a competitor. How did your fitness journey start?
Oh wow, it was kind of a fluke, but my fitness journey started when I was very young. I actually grew up in a farm in Ohio, and I was on my way to obesity from eating fried chicken and corn and potatoes that were always fried. And I started to run, and I started to lose weight, and that actually was what initially propelled me into fashion modeling. And then I became a vegetarian and actually got too thin and anemic. And one day I passed out, and I thought, I've got to do something to, I stopped and I reflected and I looked back and I said, I've got to do something different because this isn't working, and I'm sick. I'm not sick in the sense that I was visibly sick, but I was not healthy. And so I started researching and finding fitness professionals and role models that looked like the body that I would like to attain, and just started to follow them. And by the time I was, far enough along into my fashion career and hit the ripe age of 30, I was like, okay, it's not as easy to just run and keep the weight off. And so I learned through, again, following the fit models and role models that were out there, nutritionists, to basically, um, change, constantly stop, look back, and change what you're doing, because it's kind of like um, business. You set up a strategy, and that strategy may last you 1 to 3 to 5 years at the most. But you have to stop along the way, look back, and say what worked and what didn't. And so, by the time I hit 33, I realized running wasn't working anymore. I was thin, and what I like to refer to as skinny fat. And I was sitting around a conference room table at my business, and I saw all these executives with gray hair, sad, forlorn faces. Everybody looked tired and heavy, to be quite honest. And there I was. I was the thinnest person in the room, probably the fittest person in the room, and I still felt I didn't feel weak, or I didn't feel strong. I felt weak, and I thought, this isn't what I want. I've got to again stop, look back, figure out what works, and set up a new strategy. And so again, I turned back to the catalogs and the fitness role models, and then online had so many more folks that you could follow and watch. And so I started following specific people that, again, could be the body type that I wanted to be. And I started lifting weights. And I went to a conference where there was to become a master certified trainer. And at that conference, I met another girl, and she taught me about the weight training and the transformation. And she had a body like mine. And we started talking, and she said, well, this is what I did. I started eating 6 times a day. And I thought, I'm a busy executive. I can't possibly eat 6 times a day. That would mean I'd have to take food to meetings. And she says, well, if you want to be something different, if you want to be extraordinary, you have to do extraordinary things. So my main fitness journey restarted again, and I've kind of reinvented myself along the way. As a fluke, I ran into a person, and she said, I dare you to at least try. And then I want you to compete. And I said, oh no, I have no need to compete. and fast forward, about 8 months later, I stepped on the stage and did my first fitness competition. And from, I was very fortunate from the modeling experience. I wasn't afraid to be on the stage, but to see the discipline and the hard work that goes into being a bodybuilding professional and having such a respect for it. They're not, scantily clad people without brains. Many of these people are smart, well educated, and this is just another discipline in their life because they want to live to a higher standard. It's so inspiring. So it then encouraged me to share that with the world. And as an executive, there's so many people that get into their 30s and 40s and they look at their life and think, I'm a mom, I had 3 kids, I want my baby body, I want my pre-baby body back. And sometimes that's not realistic. But sometimes there's something even better than the pre-baby body. Because if you ask me if I would want to look like I did at 28 now, I'd say absolutely not. I love the muscle. I love being strong. And I love being able to share how I got here with other people. And so that's been the thing that keeps me going to, stop, reflect, and look back at what worked and what didn't, and set up my new strategy. So I know that's a long answer to a question, but it helps to understand that it's not just, it's a series of journeys. It's not just one day, you start and, it always stays. You keep going.
Yeah, what amazing, incredible story, Karen.
Thank you.
I read on your website that by age 15 you switched from fried to grilled and baked. That's quite young. How did it come about?
Well, like I said, I was mowing the yard on the farm, and we had a push mower and we had a tractor mower, and someone took a picture of me from the back, and I have quite the booty. So I saw the booty and everything else was like stacked, and I looked like a blob sitting on top of the tractor, and I couldn't believe it was me. And I thought, I've got to, there's got to be something different. So by making those small changes from switching from fried to grilled, I wasn't able to change my family over. I had to make those choices myself. So I had to learn to, we'll call it cook. My food was not fantastic, but I learned how to take what I had available to me at that time and just make those little changes. And through that, my younger sister started to see a different discipline. And I also then started to run and was on the track team at school, improved my speed and endurance because I found people locally that could help me along the way. And, we baled hay on the farm. So we always were strong girls. And then I went from 188 pounds at 5'7". And by the time I graduated, I was 5'10" and 140 pounds. So in a matter of a couple of years, by making those small changes, my body, at 17, you could run, and that's really about all you need to do to drop weight, because the body's much more efficient when you're young. So those little changes in the running became my passion at that time. Uh-huh. And that, coupled with some strong people with family and faith and some other disciplines, I just learned to find those stepping stones that worked. And you have to throw off the things that don't. And I encourage people to, okay, it didn't work, move on. Find something new. And that it's a motto I have to live by, because, each day you figure out what works and you do that.
What kind of hurdles did you have to overcome to be fit and stay fit today? And what did you learn from them?
Ooh, well, I'll use the most prominent one, because I think this is the one where, as an adolescent at 15, I was headed towards obesity, and we didn't. Back then, I grew up in a beautiful, kind of environment where all the food wasn't processed. It wasn't filled with hormones and steroids. We had cows on the farm. We could go in the backyard and get a chicken. It was, there weren't steroids and hormones in our food. And today I look at I look at the kids and I think, oh Lord, please help them, because there's so many things that they have to battle. So when I saw, for me, the hurdles were finding the discipline to not be so extreme. Because as a fashion model, they always wanted me to be thinner, thinner, thinner. And I'm not naturally thin. I became a vegetarian because that was the first way I learned to help lose some of the muscle I had built up. And then I learned that muscle burns fat, and that I was getting skinny fat again. So then it was just thin but not firm. So the hurdles that I faced were just were probably sometimes, by searching for so much information, you also get bad information. So then it's finding people who really want to invest in helping you or make you learn too, so that you can then find what works for your body. And everybody is different. God made us our own footprint. So frankly, you have to figure out what works for you and hopefully find the coach or the trainer or the friend or whomever that's going to help you be your best person. And, when I entered the professional world at an early age, they paid for my school and did all this stuff. I was fortunate that I was busy, and I was forced to find disciplines, so that, because the hurdles were, I would eat whenever, and I would gain weight because I wouldn't work out, or I was just running, and it wasn't enough to maintain a leanness. So through the love of fitness, and I competed in hip hop dance when I was 25, through those finding new passions, I was able to overcome what was inevitably going to be a weight problem. I have a hard time keeping the weight off. So I am always constantly, was always constantly trying to find the next diet, I tried everything, the juice diet, the cookie diet, everything. And finally, it wasn't until, in the last probably 3 years that I met people who were mature enough to say, what you're doing is not going to work long term. So they were smart, they were kind enough to say, listen, executive, your strategy is good short term. Long term, you're not building a strong foundation. So with anything, I stopped and I listened, and again, looked back and said, what works, what doesn't? And through them, I learned, if I'm going to overcome whatever the hurdle is, in this case, it was dropping weight but building muscle so you can get on the stage. It didn't seem to make any sense to me. But once you learn that you have to eat 6 times a day, and the food needs to be clean meaning, you don't fry it, you bake it, or you broil it, or you boil it, and you don't use salts, you don't use additives. Learning, again, those things, just like switching from fried to grilled, it made all the difference. But for someone to tell me to eat 6 times a day, my biggest hurdle at work was I'd walk into an executive meeting with asparagus and chicken breast in a baggie, and I'm like, eating something. They're like, if people would look at you, I'm like, don't pay attention. It's okay. It's all right. And now people in my company that I work for, which is the largest health insurance company in the country, Miriam, more people on my direct team and in my division have started walking, running. I think I think people, I would say at least 100 pounds have been lost this year alone because people have said, you inspire me. And they may bring a nasty protein bar that is full of sugar to the meeting, but at least they're eating protein and they're eating consistently. I said, all you have to do is just start to get on a schedule. So for me to get over the hurdles, I had to stick to a schedule, and I explained it to my executive team that it's my strategy for health, and call it health reform within the workplace, but this is the health reform for Karen Kennedy. And if you'd like to follow it, I'll share my plan with you, and I'll write you a schedule. But I'm not going to make you do it. It's up to you. If you cheat on it, you cheat on yourself. And workouts, I said, no, I'm extreme there, so you probably don't want to work out with me. But if it's somebody who wants to move from athletic to more of an elite athlete, then I can work with them. So that's really what I focus on the most. And but Miriam, I don't know how much you're exposed to the U.S. corporate environment, but it's incredibly long hours, very few vacations, and people get tired and burn out. So having at least if you can schedule your day, you can schedule your food. It keeps your blood sugar level, keeps your mind sharper. And so through those little changes, I've overcome my weight challenges. And not that I'm perfect, but I don't have to worry so much about maintaining my weight because I have the discipline of a clean diet, and I've worked that into my day schedule. And I've also then become an example at work and helped other people change their lives, so that I have moms that are now almost in their pre-baby body shape, or they're going to do their first bikini competition. It's so exciting. So it makes me happy.
Wow, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
You use fearlessly committed to fitness as a slogan. Do you feel that a lot of people are afraid to commit to their fitness, and why?
Oh, I think people are not, I don't think people are afraid to commit. I think that the commitment starts strong, and usually by the 6th week, there's two getches. Initially it's the, oh my gosh, I'm so sore. And then the second piece is, okay, I've lost some weight, I feel good, I feel strong. And then they think they can take a couple of days off. This couple of days turn into a couple of weeks. And then so the commitment, it gets lost. And so I think the key is, like I said earlier, is recognizing, stopping, reflect, look back and say, okay, that didn't work. I've done that before. Let me get to 8 weeks this time. And then at 8 weeks, say, okay, at 8 weeks, I need to ask somebody for help. And whatever, have someone hold you accountable. The key is when I look at being fearlessly committed to fitness, is I didn't want to look back and think about the things that held me up. It's like running a race. When you start the race, frankly, at any professional race, the distance. If it's a 5K, a 10K, a marathon, a half marathon, the distance. And you just start running. And along the way, hopefully there are people that cheer you on. And ask any runner, any marathoner, in those last few miles, or at mile 8, mile 7, there's certain pains that creep in. There's certain things, but for someone to cheer that doesn't even know you, or someone to come alongside you, and even in the weight loss journey, to say, wow, you look really good. What are you doing? Or somebody that knows you that says, wow, you look good. What are you doing different? Those are the things people need. It doesn't hurt to say, wow. It doesn't hurt to say, you see somebody, compliments are usually not taken the wrong way in the right context when they seem genuine. So when I look at being fearlessly committed, it's 100% knowing that I'm starting the race and I'm going to run, but I'm also looking for the encouragement along the way. And sometimes the race is lonely, and sometimes you fall, or you have an injury, or whatever it might be. But you're still, sometimes it's best to just keep going, and then there's times you have to stop. And the key is that for fear of stopping or fear of not finishing something, it's because that's just pride. And the only way to beat pride is to start where you stop. Say, you know what, I'm going to do it another day, but then do it and set some specific goals to do it so you accomplish what you want. But the key is, when I look at being fearlessly committed to fitness, it is kind of I have 0.1 mile left in the half marathon, and I'm going to sprint with everything I got. But you know what? I really don't want to throw up at the finish line, so I'm going to, so you might leave just a little bit there. However, when you see the clock and you're trying to create a new personal record, and you're 3 seconds off, you don't worry so much about throwing up anymore. So it's being fearless. It's finding the moments of, I failed, but I'm going to go again, and just going. So the fearlessness is, it can come in spurts, but the key is to, everybody knows what fearless means. It's just go, relentless. And I hope to inspire people to stop caring what people think and look for the joy, look for that, and grab onto it and just, pull, push, run, hang on, whatever. Just enjoy it. It's such a good feeling, to let go of the fear and the inhibitions and just try to find your best.
Great, amazing.
Thank you.
You are also an elite trainer. I read about your vision board exercise. Can you explain how that works and walk our viewers through it?
Sure. So the vision board is, remember how I said you find fit models or role models? Okay, I am not going to ever be a petite blonde. I can dye my hair, but I don't like the way blonde looks on me. I am not going to be 5 foot tall. I'm just not. So my vision board consists of people around 5'9", 5'10", 6 foot that are, have nice shapely legs. There's Alicia Harris, Jennifer Nicole Lee, Charlize Theron. There's body types that are attainable for me. And even down to people's skin, like Halle Berry has beautiful skin. I will never be her color, but her skin is flawless and beautiful. So the vision board has the physical things that you can visually say, I want that. So you need to be able to look at it and say, I want to be able, and if it's this, for me, there's great shots of people that do squats. Natalia Melo, she's, Miss Olympia. She has the best glutes I've ever seen. And, she's a lot shorter than me, but we have the same genetic sort of setup. Oh, I apologize. They're doing fire testing. So Natalia, for example, she's I joined, I worked with Team Bombshell my first year competing. They're an incredible group of bikini bodybuilding. They actually do bikini, fitness, figure. They do all bodybuilding. They're an incredible group. So I could learn from what I considered the best. I looked at that. So on my vision board, I had the bikini bodybuilders, and some of those people are 18, 21 years old. I've got a good 10 years on them. So it's not that I looked at them and say, okay, I'm going to look like them, or I'm going to do the same thing, because I've learned I'm not going to be able to do the same thing and get there, but at least I know what a champion looks like. And so from the vision board, what you do is you identify your top, I would say focus on the top 3 to 5 fitness and physical things that you can see. And then there's some other tangible assets, such as, okay, if you want to be in a great relationship, or if you want to strengthen yourself spiritually, take take your cross necklace and stick it on your vision board, or hang it on your vision board. You can pin it there. If you see a picture of, if there's a guy that you're dating or someone that you love, put them there. The key is to put on the vision board the things that inspire you, the things that you love, and the things you want to be. It's kind of what's present. It's almost like this is the present, and if it isn't the present, I'm going to look at it until it is. And then when you reach a certain goal, so say I said, okay, I know for competition I drop about 5 to 6 pounds. So I put my little numbers. I have little numbers, and I put them on there, and as my weight drops, I adjust the numbers. And then I know I'm so many weeks out. And I also have a calendar that I stick beside my vision board. So the vision board is really to capture your present and your future, but but it's the things that inspire you and the things that you love, and also what you want, what you see yourself being. So that's what the vision board is. And to me, it's powerful because you can put your personal, professional, and spiritual on there. Then it gets crowded. So you want to, that's why I say keep about 3 to 5 key things on there. And when when it needs adjusted, you adjust it. But it needs to be active, and it needs to be, even if it's, sitting, beside the refrigerator or sitting in the bathroom, have it visible so that you can see it every day.
Thank you for sharing,
Sure
Karen.
thing.
You also talk about the flow of kinetic energy. Can you explain that?
Sure. So we can talk about, so kinetic energy is this whole thing of, the easiest way to explain is like the domino effect. If I push here, if I push this little domino, it's going to hit the other dominoes. And if you've ever watched, somebody, that you ever watched the dominoes fall, it's somewhat mesmerizing. So kinetic energy to me is one of my ways of envisioning what I learned in graduate school about, what we call systemic thinking. If you have a balloon and you push the balloon on this side, it goes a little bit like this. So it's the whole concept of if I do one thing today, there's a result. If I take an action, there's some reaction or some result from that action. And so with kinetic, it's finding those actions that keep things going. So I learned, for me, building muscle was one of my kinetic energy sources. Because as I build muscle, I'm a machine. I burn fat. Now I burn fat like crazy. And when you get ready for a competition, you're eating so clean and you're eating 6 times a day, you cannot wait. You cannot wait to get to that next meal because you become such a machine. It's incredible. And it's all things I learned along the way. And it's all from just understanding, but for me the kinetic effect is just knowing that if you start it, something's going to happen. And a lot of times when people say, oh, well, you must have a plan and a strategy, and I say, well, you know what, if you asked me 15 years ago, I'd say I plan 70% of everything, and I'm by the book. I'm German, Irish, and Indian. So I'm all kinds of things. And for some reason, the German side does really well with my structure. So I used to be neurotic with this planning. And now, but I also learned I wasn't enjoying life as much. So I plan about 40% of life, we'll call it. And I pray about those plans because I know that at any point they could change. So then, 40% is planned, which is mostly my food and my exercise regimen, and then my days for work. The rest just happen. And I get, I can go to a meeting and I can enjoy a conversation with a person. I can train an elite client and help them work through something that, people who live differently than you, they have different problems than you. But sometimes you can see clearly what, the kinetic effect that if they do this, there's some serious ramifications, or if they don't do this, the opportunity that they could miss or the opportunities they could have. So it's being clear-minded and knowing, and being able to help people along the way. So, I hope that answers, kind of answers the question.
Great answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
What has been your best experience this far on your fitness journey?
Oh, gosh. I think my best experience this far has been that we did the JNL DVD, Jennifer Nicole Lee, they're called JNL Fusion DVDs. We filmed those in California. And I met some incredible people. To this day, they're my friends. We could call each other at any hour of the day, and you just know. So what I think probably the best way to sum it up is when you're disciplined and you have a love and a passion for health and fitness, and you find people who have that same love for health and a passion for fitness, you actually, there's a bond. And I met a couple ladies that both a little bit older than me, awesome moms, and we were competing together. And so anyone that looks back on my fitness competing journey will usually see two ladies, a lady named Brenda and a lady named Kat. And we roomed together because it's an expensive sport and we all have jobs. We encouraged each other. We shared the bad pictures for prep. We shared the good pictures for prep. We got to do photo shoots together. It was the one thing I didn't expect, Miriam, was to find such great friends and women that they aren't catty. They aren't, unlike the modeling industry, they aren't, trying to say one thing and do another. They were genuinely there to help me find if I was going to get first that day or if they were going to get first that day. And it didn't matter if one of us won and one didn't, or where we placed. And we would usually place like right beside each other, which was ironic. There was one time Brenda and I were in the lineup. We were second and third. And we just looked at each other because they switch you around on the stage. And we looked at each other. And I remember looking over. This is the great moment. I remember we're on the stage together. And they say, okay, number whatever I was, number whatever she was, switch, because they're comparing us against the first place winner. And so I look over and I'm thinking, who are they? I'm like, oh. I thought, because I felt really good. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm like, I might be second, I'm first or second. And it turned out the person they switched me with was Brenda. And I was like, oh, it's you. And it's visible on stage that we realized it's each other. We're like, oh, okay. And we just switched. But in that very moment, it was like, okay, it's my sister. I love this woman. I'm so happy for her. So she ended up getting second place and I got third. And I don't remember what show it was, but I remember the moment on the stage where we realized it was each other. And it's just such a joy. It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't disappointment. It was such happiness. And so that was probably I'd have to say that was my best moment in my fitness journey. It was just very recent.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it makes me, it makes me want to get back on the stage.
Oh. You're not only a pro fitness model and competitor, you're also a busy women exec, a natural VP, and in an insurance company. Many people who have a 9 to 5 say that it's just not possible for them to work out. How is your approach different, and what would you say to them?
Well, I get to have this conversation a lot. Well, beside the bags of food that I take to the meetings and the weird protein shakes that they see me shaking during a meeting, I talk to them about making little changes, and I also say you have to schedule yourself. You're important enough, and you may think you have to make that meeting or you have to be somewhere, but the key is if you're not healthy, one day you're not going to make it. And a lot more people are going to miss you. So stop being selfish and thinking other people need when you need to take care of yourself first. And so it's a hard concept, especially for people who are trying to climb in the corporate world and become, the next CEO or whatever. Being the boss isn't always fun. It's a lot of work. If you're a good boss, you should be setting an example and helping people get to the next level. And so from my key thing is I cannot mandate, for example, I can't mandate my staff take their lunch. I can't mandate they take an hour or they stop working at a certain time. Those are all their choices. They're grown people. But when people ask me, I say, you need to schedule your time. And they say, when do you do it? I said, I get up at 5 a.m. or I'm at the gym by 5:15. I work out. I at least do my cardio in the morning. Sometimes I'll do my weight and cardio workout in the morning. And, then I go again at night. When I'm competing, I add some extra cardio because I carry weight and I have to drop the extra 5 pounds. So it's important. I say, you just schedule it in. And that's how you have to do it. You have to start. I said, even if it's a 15-minute walk at lunch, I go, the key is, please don't eat at your desk. Please go get lunch. Go make yourself food if you work from home. The key is don't sit there and, don't sit there. One is, as you sit all day, your glands start to collect all this stuff in our body. So even, I say, even if you sit on one of those, they're not good all the time, but those, like the balance ball, the crunch, the fit balls, even if you sit on there, bounce. One, you'll be happy because it's fun to bounce. And two, it pumps your glands. And so there's little things. It's incredible. Just the little things you can do a day could prevent a heart attack. It could prevent diabetes. I mean, I'm not saying I have the world solution, but as an executive, you sometimes are stuck in a conference for 2 days, and the people there are not conscious enough that they bring in the cookies at 3 versus maybe air popcorn. They aren't conscious. So you have to be conscious for yourself. I take a lot of business trips. I carry my food. I freeze it and I carry it because if it's sometimes TSA, they'll take your gel bags or whatever because they're not solid. So there's certain things you have to do to prepare. But the key is to prepare and to schedule yourself, and as if you were your own meeting. You have to schedule meetings with yourself. So that's usually what I tell people. And there's always excuses, and I say, well, I can't make you do it. Right. And so people, they get to make their own choices.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
Planning is also really important, right? How do you plan for success?
I start with the end in mind. So let's use, for example, my first competition this year will be either May 18th or June 21st. So I look at the dates and I think, okay, if I'm going to be ready for that show, I need to, start competition prep, for example, is a good 12 weeks for somebody who's already in shape. So I'll do I start with the date and then I work backwards. So I know exactly when, if I have I may have a glass of wine maybe twice a week. I know that all has to go starting, the X week. So you start with the end in mind. And the same thing, like on my vision board, I put a big mark on the calendar. And so that I know where I'm going. I look at, I put my numbers on my vision board. So I know what I have to do. And then I have a coach that I train with, and I ask them, like, okay, are we doing weekly check-ins? They say yes. So I do that. So my plan consists of starting with the end in mind and then having accountability along the way. So that's what works for me, like for a competition. But for anybody out there, that's even if they're just starting their fitness journey, one of my clients is injured, and they said, I want to train. I said, well, you really can't train, but let's focus on a date when we can. And so we're working towards a start date, but they have to have the discipline to not run, for example. Because if they, one of the hardest things about starting an exercise is this also when you're injured to stop. That's equally as hard. So it's incredibly important that, if you have a plan, that it also takes into account reality. So, it's important, that people are realistic, it's just like me saying, I'm not going to be a 5-foot blonde. I'm just not, but can I be a 5'10", redhead with a 24-inch waist? Yes. And, how do I get there? Well, this is what I do. So those are the types of things that, I start with the end in mind always. And I kind of back into it.
Great.
And so, like the kinetic thing, if you're thinking about the kinetic, if I know if I start it, and say you may fall off or whatever, you fall off the wagon, they say, or you fall off your plan. You don't say, okay, I'm going to start on Monday. No, you start that day. Just start that day. It doesn't to start on Monday. No, because there's 3 more days that you sabotage yourself. You start right now. It's because that's the law of that's the kinetic energy. Because you can stop it just like you can start it. You can go reverse and forward. So the key is realize you just did the wrong thing and then do the right thing. So that's how I plan.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else you feel we've missed that you would like to cover today?
No, I think your interviews are incredibly thorough. I think you're phenomenal, Miriam. You really do a great job, and you're really doing a great service for people out there. Thank you for investing and sharing my story.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it, and wish you all the success.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you.
And what's the best place for people to connect with you online?
The best place to connect with me online is at www.karenkennedyfitness.com. And then that has all my links to Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So I look forward to seeing and meeting new people, and happy to help people on their fitness journey along the way.
Thank you. And I will make sure to put all the links below this video.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much again for your time.
Sure. Have a blessed day.
You too. My name is Miriam Khalladi, and I will see you on the next episode of Real Talk, Real Women.